So I have 2 birthdays. So I said I have 2 birthdays, and on each of my birthdays, I got 2 gifts. The first gift I got is that I was born with HIV. Yeah, for many you might wonder why I'm calling it a gift. I love being HIV positive today because I've learned a lot about being positive. Me being HIV positive wasn't easy because just when I found out, I just lost my mother. And I will be referring to my new mother, who's my mom's young sister now, who I'll be calling mother from now onwards. I grew up with my aunt, who is my mother, who was the first person before my dad that saw me. And the first thing she noticed about me were my beautiful big eyes, as you can see. So as I was growing up, I had troubles understanding why I was always sick. So one day while I was young, just after Mom died, I was taking my medication and I came across a little script on my tablets which said ARVs. As you know, antiretroviral treatment or ARVs are anything to do with HIV. That time, HIV was not a topic to discuss like I am standing here talking to you about it. It was hard. And for me, at that moment, all I knew is that HIV is a killer disease, and the next thing, I was going to go just like my mom did. My second birthday happens to be the day I lost my sight, which is on the 25th of November. I consider it my second birthday because then I realized and understood that HIV was nothing but a virus. Through counseling by a mentor whom we lost a month ago, may his soul rest in peace, Dr. Manasseh Piri, I got to understand that I was no different from anybody else. And then I started talking to young people like me. When I lost my sight, I was so depressed, you can imagine. I wondered what was going to happen next. First HIV, now I'm blind. Worse still, I didn't just lose my sight, I also became deaf in my right ear. So when I realized that I was not getting better, through the counseling and even through my family and friends' support, I was so inspired. I came out of hospital 6 months after suffering from meningitis, which led to my sight loss, and I was homesick. So while I was home, I spent some time at home talking to my relatives and friends who visited me often. I didn't like the fact that I was always home. So one day, as I was home, my aunt walked in, my mother, she walked into my room, and she told me she had found a school for the blind. How many of us in this audience actually know that blind people can go back to school? How many of us even know that there's what we call Braille, which blind people can use to read and write? To be honest with you, I had no idea there was such a thing as Braille. So when she told me I was going back to school, I thought she was joking. So the following morning, because I was so excited, despite not believing that I was going back to school, I woke up very early and I went bumping myself around my room and located the bathroom. It was the first time I took a bath without help after 6 months. I felt so inspired at that moment. The second time, the same day, sorry, as I walked back to my bedroom, hitting myself around, I found 2 beautiful dresses that she had laid on the other bed. So I got one of them and wore it, and I wore my shoes right on left and left on right. Then I realized my bed was not made. So I slowly started making my bed. And just when I was about to finish making my bed, my mother walked in. "Good morning," she said. And I smiled at her and said, "Hi." And the first thing she realized is that my bed was made and there was no one else but me. Then she asked me who made my bed, and I said, "I did." Trust me, I could tell from her tone that she was so excited, because the next thing I saw is she went to call the house help to actually verify that I'm the one who made the bed. So we went to the school, and when we went to the school, it was not as amazing as I was thinking. Because when I got there, I was told I had to drop certain subjects like accounts, mathematics, chemistry, and physics, which to me, in my understanding at that moment, if you don't have any of those subjects, there's nothing you can do. And then I asked, so what can a blind person in Zambia do? And my headmaster proudly answered saying, you can either be a teacher or a telephone operator. Now that's the thing. Not once in my life did I imagine myself being a teacher. Neither did I ever think I was going to be a telephone operator. So I told him, you know what, I've come a long way to be blind. I've lost my sight because of not adhering to my medication. I will be a counselor. I decided to take a psychosocial counseling course and a clinical counseling course to understand more about HIV and see how I can help young people surviving or struggling with adherence to antiretroviral treatment. The problem with being HIV positive is the stigma around it. And the only way we can try and reduce the stigma is if we actually understand that HIV is just a virus, just like flu. If we accept that flu is a virus, I don't see why we still have struggles understanding and accepting that one has HIV. HIV has come a long way. In the beginning, most people used to die, but now people don't die. In 2014, my viral load became undetectable and has been till date. This is because of good adherence. And in the same year, I remember getting an award because I had done very, very well in making sure that my viral load was well. Then I realized one thing. Persons with disabilities are also left out in areas of accessing treatment. So I decided to work with an NGO that helped me understand how to ensure that even persons with disabilities can access these healthcare services. To my disappointment, at the clinic I was based on here in Lusaka, Zambia, little did I know that not all persons with disabilities can access these services. A person on a wheelchair today, if they walked into our clinics in our countries, they cannot go through because the facilities are too small. We have what we are calling the youth-friendly corners. I don't remember seeing not one person with a disability there because they are not as friendly as they are supposed to be. So for me, I work now in trying to ensure that we can work together. To create that inclusive society we talk about each and every day, I hear people talking about social inclusion, financial inclusion. It really starts with us. What is your perception of a disability? What comes to your mind when you see a person living with a disability? I believe disability is any condition that is mental or physical that limits a person's senses, movements, and activities. We can do all things if we are given the chance to as persons with disabilities. Me not being able to see doesn't make me disabled. I have a disability quite all right, but I am not disabled. So the thing is, we as a society, as a country, as a home, we need to change the way we perceive disability. How do we build our infrastructure in ensuring that me as a blind person, I can easily walk into your home without having problems, even into your offices? I'll give an example of a friend of mine who was given a very good job as a journalist. He's on a wheelchair. Unfortunately for him, when he got to the office, it was not conducive for him because his wheelchair couldn't accommodate him. And as time went on, he quit his job. And that's the problem we've seen with most persons with disabilities. We have not made our places, our environment conducive for all persons with disabilities. Even the way we look at our malls. We don't build our malls in a way that a person with a disability can easily move up and down and can easily navigate their way around. So my appeal or my idea is the only way we can create that idea or bring in an inclusive community is, one, if we start within the home. What comes to your mind when you see a blind person? I'm sure most of us sympathize and feel poor because the picture we have is when we go in town and the blind people begging. We can change that if we empower them. We need to stop sympathizing and empathizing with persons with disabilities. They can do more if you give them the chance to. I had so much hope with my mother because she believed in me, and here I am standing in front of you people talking to you. I wonder how many persons with disabilities today, if empowered like my family did, and even the society actually realize that persons with disabilities have enough potential if you give it to them. I'll give an example of an idea that my sister gave me the other day, where she was telling me that in her place, in her community, there's a blind person that moved into the area. And what did the community do? they decided to put posters around to ensure motorists that in case they come across him, they should slow down. How many times do we see blind people, and how many times do we actually slow down and realize that there's a blind person coming? I'm sure most of you have not noticed my white cane. I decided to come upstage without it because I knew you were going to really recognize that I am blind, but that wasn't the idea. How many of us know that if I raise my white cane like this, especially to the motorists, I'm trying to tell you to slow down? I'm sure I'm not all of us, but that's the idea. We need to start realizing that we live amongst persons with disabilities, and the only way we'll come and realize that this is a white cane that a blind person is using is if we try and communicate and relate with persons with disabilities. So in closing, do I regret that I lost my sight? No, because I can still do all things through Christ that strengthens me. Thank you.